It's June 3rd, 2014. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Tonight I'll be acting as waiver of site plan review. You'll be very quick, so we'll just get you out of the way so you can go home and have a nice dinner.
Of course,
Come on up if you would. And Sandro, would you read into the record?
The property owner is Daniel S. Burek. Owner's address is 157 owner of business is Andre Yarns Jr. Business owner's address is 75 Albemarle Street, Springfield. Property address is 50 Maple Street, East Long Meadow. Hours of operation are 8 to 5, Monday through Sunday. Number of employees, including owner, is 3. Parking plan is on file. Specific business operation is auto detailing. And I think that's about it. No sign. No, okay.
Not yet.
Not today.
Okay.
Great.
Does anybody in the board have any questions?
My main question, this is right in front of Napa Auto Parts, correct?
Correct.
My only concern was if you're doing any of the auto detailing outside, that's actually part of their parking lot also. So I just wanted to make sure that at all times, traffic flow in and out would still be accessible and that there wouldn't be anyone blocking any way or anything.
Okay.
I mean, is that something, most of the work's going to be done inside, the detailing? Or?
Yes, I plan on most of the work being done inside. There's not really a specific area where, like, as far as the entranceway goes, that can't be blocked because we both need traffic in and out.
Yep.
I've been talking to the store manager, Mark, and we kind of been doing all right, I think. He hasn't made any complaints to me. If I do park in the front, right in front of my bays, right now the front of the building is my parking, and it has heaps of sand, and I have no parking at the moment. So I believe once I do have parking, I'll be able to use it and utilize it. But right now, I've been parking in front of my bays because where else do I go?
No, that's fine. Like I said, I just wanted to make sure that between you and Napa, you had discussed it so that, you know, you get a big truck, you're not blocking everything, and just good business back and forth. That was my main concern, George.
My question is, do you have a
Yes.
No, but not town water, because in our zoning bylaw it says, for car washing facilities, there shall be a private water supply system located on the premises. Such system shall function independently of the water.
I think it's more detailing than anything.
Okay, it said car washing on the.
It's a facility, though. That's like a car
Car wash.
washing place where
So-
you drive through. For example, down on North Main
Yeah.
Street, that's a car washing facility.
Okay, so you're
He's-
not doing that. You don't
No,
have
he's-
car wash
no.
per se. You just
He's
have a
doing
hose
everything
and-
by hand.
Okay.
Yeah, everything
Okay, I got it.
hand washing
Just,
only.
I wanted to make
Yeah.
clear that,
Yeah.
because I noticed this in here and I wanted to clarify that. Good.
Any other comment? No. Someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good to go.
Good
I
to go.
hope I can clean all you guys' cars.
How's your schedule look?
Right now.
Yeah.
Good.
There you go, first one right there.
I do have a question as far as the sign
You can
and
just sign that.
Yep.
those steps as far as.
Has he filed for a sign application?
No.
I
If you come up to my office where you came before, there's applications up there. We'll walk you through it.
Okay.
It's painless.
And I have to have that here.
Right.
And the next meeting is when?
2 weeks.
2 weeks? Thank you.
And Robin will do an awesome job of walking you through the process, make you feel comfortable, and you'll be all set to go.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I should drive the application over.
absolutely.
Okay,
This is
next we have,
this and,
I just have to read that.
yep, and there's a,
Next, we have a public hearing, site plan review for Bay Path College, expansion of parking
Rick
lot.
said on this that he hasn't seen the plan, but he also has seen the plan. All right, so when you come to that point, we have not received a copy of the most recent plan. He has
And-
received it.
James, you'll be representing the applicant?
I shall continue to. Stuff to read in.
Yep. The planning board will hold a public hearing in the hearing room of the town hall, East Long Meadow, Massachusetts, on June 3rd, 2014, at 6 PM in the hearing room of the town hall, 60 Center Square, on application to amend a site plan review filed by Bay Path College for an expanded park to the academic building located at 1 Denslow Road. That's a sentence. Information regarding this application is on file with the planning board and reviewed by the public.
Just yank it.
Guess I left the wings.
Why is it stuck?
Okay, I have to read all these, right, pretty much?
Too much field.
Okay, this is from, this is to the planning board from the Conservation Commission. Dear Planning Board, the Conservation Commission has reviewed the application for the site plan review for Bay Path College expanded parking and has determined there are no conservation issues. That's from Craig Jernstam, the chair. Okay.
Yep.
This is from R. Levesque Associates, Inc., to Robin. This is for the site plan review application waiver request. Dear Ms. McDonald and board members, on behalf of our client, MFC Systems, Inc., our office is herein requesting a waiver of the East Long Meadow site plan review requirement for a traffic study with respect to the site plan review recently submitted for proposal expanded parking area. If you have any questions in this matter, please feel free to contact our Levesque Associates. Next one's from Frank Morandi to Robin. This is in review of the revised site plan for additional parking. I find the post's current submission is slightly higher than the original approved site plan. However, this latest submission is considerably less than pre-designed flow rates. I approve the engineer design of the stormwater management plan. Please be advised that this department requires an additional plan showing revised water tie-in on Denslow Road. Any questions, call him in his office. This here. Okay, this is from the police department. Bay Path Health Science Building. Site location is south side of Denslow Road at the intersection with Shaker Road. Applicant is MFC Systems, Inc. Owner is WLF Realty LLC, Wilbraham. Security system, exterior lighting, yes. It is recommended the applicant's proposed lighting plan be accepted. Interior lighting, yes. Alarms, yes. Recommendations, none. Signage, yes. It is recommended that the proposed location for signs be accepted. They should not result in any visibility issues for motor vehicles operating, entering, or exiting the site. It is recommended that any signs on Denslow Road, no parking, stop ahead, intersection ahead, should be reinstalled in an appropriate location. It is recommended that a one-way sign be installed on the northwest entrance to the rear of the drop-off area to remind drivers of the traffic pattern. Traffic impact. Traffic study, yes. Location of entrance exit south side of Denslow Road. Traffic volume increase, yes. The applicant submitted a traffic study for this project utilizing estimated enrollment of 274 graduate students and as many as 20 faculty, support, and staff. This project will result in an increased wait time, but not a significant one. Traffic and code changes, yes. It is recommended that a center line be painted on the main rear driveway to delineate between inbound and outbound traffic lanes. It is recommended that any crosswalk markings be consistent with existing crosswalks in East Long Meadow. It is recommended that additional stop signs and stop lines be added to the most recent submitted plan be accepted. Police service impact, yes. It is anticipated that calls for police services will increase as a result of the project. Additional recommendations, comments, yes. It is recommended that developer consider utilizing mature trees and additional trees between the proposed building and intersection of Shaker Road and Pease Road. Vehicles occasionally continue straight west on Pease Road and Pease Road. That's a mistake. Pease Road and into the field on the property.
Yeah.
The applicant submitted a revised site plan that included removal of sidewalk along north side of the parking lot, the installation of additional parking spaces on the south side of the campus, and temporary gate restricting access to those parking spaces while construction is being completed. However, to date, we have not received the most recent plan. Richard Bates. Now we got one from Richard Bates. Good morning, Robin. As per our telephone conversations regarding the changes to Bay Path College, I have reviewed the new plans and recommendations previously submitted to you remain the same. Any questions, please call me.
That's it.
That's about it.
Fire.
Oh, fire. This is from Ben Coney. Good morning. East Long Meadow Fire Department will ask to have a heat detector added to the fire alarm systems for the outbuilding maintenance shed. We also recommend a key to the building be supplied to the fire department and added to the knock box. Thank you, Ben Cody. Simple.
That's it.
Great. Tell us what's on your mind.
Okay, for the record, good evening. I'm Jim Martin from the law firm Robinson Donovan, and I'm here tonight on behalf of Bay Path College with Rob Levesque, Mike Crowley, and Mike Giampietro, who I trust many of you recall from last year when we were here for the initial site design review and special permits to commence construction of the Allied Health Science Building, which I'm sure all of you know and have been by is proceeding at a rapid clip and is, I think, looking quite nice thus far, and will look wonderful when it's completed. We're here tonight to present to you some small revisions to the site plan that Rob will go over with you. These deal primarily with the additional parking in, this would be what, the southwest corner of the lot, and it's about, what, 42 spaces, Rob?
I believe so, it's about 40, yeah.
And that will, as this building takes shape and excitement grows around it, the need for the parking becomes evident when, programs are going to be, in that building someday, and economically it makes sense to do it now when the whole project is underway rather than come back and, try and do it at some point in the future when, a smaller project would be much more expensive, and we can coordinate it much better and not have to deal with the delay. So I'll let Rob go over the engineering details. We have been through a roundtable, and after my last experience, I'm happy to say it was only one roundtable, and it was relatively short, and we had very minor comments, and we have accepted those comments, particularly the fire department's requests about the heat sensor and the key and that sort of thing. Those won't be a problem whatsoever. So, Rob, why don't you proceed?
Thanks, Jim. Again, for the record, Rob Levesque from our Levesque Associates. We're here tonight, as mentioned, for the expansion of the parking area. This is, as you remember, we have three curb cuts off of Denslow Road. What we did is we added a parking area at the back of the property. Initially, we anticipated that we wouldn't be able to do that. We've been working with Kinder Morgan for quite some time. They have the Tennessee Valley Gas transmission line that runs through there. There's actually two lines that run through. So in our communication with them and our the college's need for parking or concern over their potential need for future parking, it seemed like while we're under construction and still out there and still have excavators and dozers, etc., that we would pursue this at this time. So what we've done is we've located this parking area. It's about 40 spaces. There's a parking area as well as a little maintenance facility, a little maintenance building, just to keep general maintenance equipment for the folks that work on site. And you know, with regard to the grounds, and as you're aware, Bay Path does a beautiful job with their landscaping. So it was logical to keep something in the back of the property. So we basically just created a little curb cut off of the back of this drive aisle. This has essentially remained unchanged, and the parking area is really fairly simple. There was a couple arrangements that we looked at. This arrangement actually allows us to do this because there's a requirement for cover over the pipe. We went out and had a very detailed analysis of what was going on in conjunction. We worked in conjunction with Kinder Morgan, our survey crew, shot the top of the lines, and everything's really been looked at in a very detailed manner. So we're comfortable that we have a plan that not only works for Kinder Morgan, but hopefully will work for the planning board and also provide the additional parking. Associated with that parking area, there is a stormwater basin. Essentially what happens, there's a high point within the small parking area. Part of that breaks back and goes towards the existing system, which had additional capacity. So a minor amount of water going back to our existing system, which has actually already been constructed. And then on this side, there's a little bit of stormwater that runs into this basin here. There's essentially a catch basin, a sediment forebay, and a very small basin. We've kept all of this out of the riverfront area, so there's no resource area impacts. We've been very careful to not impact the resource areas on the site, if at all possible. Just to give you an update, we did go to the Conservation Commission between our first public hearing and now, and we did request that the Conservation Commission allow us to remove and relocate, or I should essentially say relocate, the isolated vegetated wetland at the front of the property. We did receive approval for doing that, and that has been moved and shifted. So if you recall, there was an area right in here that was a low point, and it was an isolated vegetated wetland. That has been relocated and reshaped and mitigated for by providing a little additional area, as well as providing native plant species that were applicable to that wetland. So we've done that. In addition to that, there's been some minor revisions to the plans, mostly associated with the building footprint. The architect and obviously Bay Path were moving in a rapid fashion. So there was a minor change in the footprint, a little bit smaller, a little jog here, doors in certain locations. So points of egress and some other minor details changed. So we upgraded that, and it was an opportunity for us to enhance the hardscape out in front, in front of the building, in the rear of the building, where will be the main student access. So what we have is a hardscape. We think this will end up being granite paving, very nice, high end. And then we've updated the landscape plantings around that. We've provided an updated landscaping plan with quantities and sizes. We anticipate that the sizes potentially will increase. They're probably the bare minimum, as well as the final location. We'd like to reserve the right to add additional plantings and substitute based on availability, but certainly everything's native. And it was based on input from Bay Path College and their maintenance facility and department. Were very detailed in what they felt was good in the area. So those details are all on the plans. There are a number of plan sheets that have not changed, specifically the drainage sheets and a lot of the details. Really, essentially what's changed is the hardscape, the new parking area. We've omitted a sidewalk here. We added a number of stop bars and signs and some safety components, crosswalk enhancements, kind of a crosswalk table, I forget the specific term we're using, but and that's generally the revisions. So it looks pretty much the same, but that's kind of where we're at. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Oh, and lighting, we did, I apologize. We did, the electrical engineer for the project has been detailing everything within the building, around the building. And then we did provide a lighting plan from Frank, I'm sorry. Okay. So anyway, Frank Capetta, the electrical engineer, so that is a little bit different lighting component. That lighting is a little bit more, I believe, a little bit more modern, more consistent with the building. So that's been provided. I'm happy to.
Still all on-site lighting and for safety and parking and that sort of thing, but it's just a more.
It's actually all down lighting too.
Yeah. more modern-looking fixtures is essentially what it is. So,
Okay. Now, you just heard comments here that were read. Have all those comments been integrated into your plan?
I believe all of them have, save one. There was a comment from the DPW department regarding a water tie-in. There's some coordination on site with, I believe, the water superintendent, or I forget the specific term, but the gentleman on site, our contractor, have been communicating. So our plan will be updated to reflect the solution that was created, developed in the field. So we just need to provide that. But everything else, I believe, has been updated. Anything that, is there anything you need to finalize?
No, that was Roy Esposito. He's the water guy for DPW. They've been working together on it, yeah.
I mean, some of the minor things, like in the fire, like the key and that sort of stuff, wouldn't be reflected on those plans, but they'll be reflected in the decision, and we'll abide by those, of course. But everything else has been incorporated. And last Friday when they did the water, Mike, across the street? When they
Yep, the water's in.
So-
They had to tap into 2 different places.
I happened to be fortunate
It's
that
kind of a
Milton Valley
fail-safe.
was closed on the Friday before Memorial Day, so we were able to coordinate the work.
They're trying to do the sewer tie-in today, but they have water on Milton Bradley side, so I don't know where they stand with that. That pipe's really deep, the sewer pipe. They found water down there, so they were trying to pump it out and get the hookup over there. That was as of.
But the answer to your question is all
Yeah,
departments'
it's-
issues have or will be addressed and abided by.
All right, I'd like to open up the meeting to the public. Does anyone have any comment, questions? If not, I'll close the meeting to the public.
Can we bring it back to the board?
Sure,
That way there might-
that's what we're gonna do.
If you don't mind.
Yep.
Couple comments. In the back area, the new drainage detention basin, that's strictly for where the 40 cars are gonna be parked. And is that area for employees, or is that for students, or?
I think it would be, I think they did ask that at the roundtable. And I think the general answer is that it's not going to be specifically restricted, but I think the employees would be encouraged to park there. Is that?
That's generally true, although we don't have assigned parking, so it's basically first come, first served.
So that would be last come, last served, because the front is from the building.
Right.
Is there any,
Like the health club.
That's right.
any walkways or anything from the back coming forwards, or are they
There are
required to
not-
walk through the parking lot?
They are. It would be, typical, I hate to use this example, but a typical retail scenario, where, you're getting out of your car, and that's kind of generally the thought process. They'll be walking up the aisles.
And the new lighting that's updated also goes over that area?
Absolutely.
It does.
If I remember right, there's a gate for that.
There is, and we had some discussion at the roundtable as to whether the gate would be installed in the end, and I think we were still coordinating that item, if I remember correctly.
Mike, did you reach a decision about the gate?
No, we're going to do that tomorrow morning. Kinder Morgan, in their original discussions with us, was requiring that we have a gate that would be used whenever they were servicing the line, which is very infrequent, but they do it maybe once or twice a year. They wanted us to be able to gate that area off so that there would be no interference with their work, or people wouldn't be able to get onto the site at that point in time. Subsequent conversations with Kinder Morgan, they've changed the way that they're going to handle analyzing their lines. So they're actually going to move that vault area off of where it is right now and relocate it on a different part of the easement. So we won't have to deal with that. If we don't want to, we won't have to deal with the gate, so we probably won't put it in.
So unless they require it, we won't put it in.
We're meeting with Kinder Morgan to go over the final plans tomorrow morning.
Okay. And the reason...
But they've signed off on this now.
Okay. I mean, my question was because I had noticed on one of the plans it said locked gate, and, I mean, that throws up a red flag immediately.
Yeah, we did speak with the fire department. In the event that we do keep the gate and it is locked, they would want to make sure that there was a key provided in the Knox box as well.
Okay. You said some of that drainage goes into the existing, which is, if I remember right, subsurface
That's
under the
correct.
back parking lot.
Yes, right here.
So the new space is really only for the back side of
To the
the,
very back edge.
right, the rest of it was
Yep.
provided for originally.
It's under this, it's very difficult to see, but it's
Yep.
right here. And as mentioned, a portion of this runs to this basin here. But that was all analyzed and reviewed.
My last question is pretty simple. Where are you gonna put all the snow?
Well, we're working on those ideas.
I mean, that was one of our concerns on our first
Yeah.
site plan, was that the snow would be able to be piled up in the back there.
Right. This area may at times be utilized for just that.
Yep.
Realistically, so it does provide an additional asphalt area to do that on. In the event of a major event, major storm event or multiple storm events, there is the possibility, and we do understand the fact that this may need to be trucked offsite legally.
And again, addressing the snow, I just would like to make sure that it's in there, that at the entrances, there's no pile up of snow, no blocking of the sight lines or anything with the snow.
And if I may, I'm sure you worked this out with Kinder Morgan, but I have to ask, the basin provides enough coverage, or it's not over the pipes?
Correct. The basin is actually outside the easement.
Oh, it is, okay.
And so within the easement, there's two gas lines, and
Right,
probably difficult to see, but here and here.
okay.
And what their concern was is that we had enough cover with our
Mhm.
parking lot over
Right.
there. We initially had a little bit more parking shown because we were able to accommodate that, from a geometry,
Yeah.
space point of view. But when it comes to the actual cover over the system and all the three-dimensional components that we
Yeah.
had to
Right.
incorporate, this is what worked out best. And this basin is in fact outside that.
Okay, thank you.
Interesting enough, the old easement of record allowed the landowner to go over, under, next to the easement.
Really?
But we, for safety
Yeah,
reasons, we didn't want
obviously.
to do that. But
Yeah,
I've got one of those in my property too.
yeah.
Yes,
Any other comment from the board?
No, I think it's good, they're adding parking. I mean,
Right.
usually it's the other way around, we're fighting to get more parking, so
Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We have to do a vote on the waiver for
for the
the traffic study first.
Yes, we do.
And
That's a
then,
separate one, yes.
I'll make a motion to waive the traffic study.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll make a motion to approve the changes to the site plan.
Second.
I'll second that, based on the discussion that we had as far as the snow plowing and the additional comments that we had.
Yeah, those will be in the decision.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Do I have a second?
I seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Looks like it's coming along beautiful over there.
Mike and Rob and the team are doing a great job.
And no trucks up and down Pease Road.
Haven't seen any yet.
You don't see them during the fill either.
I was gonna say, you won't either.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have to sign those?
You should sign this, Vice Chair. We can do that.
Okay, next on the agenda is the zoning review committee to discuss the bylaw proposals. Do we have anyone here from the zoning review committee meeting?
Everyone's leaving.
Here would be good.
Yeah, what side of the table should I be sitting on? As a member of both?
Hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
Hi, how are you?
Speak to us.
Speak to you. Well, our last submittal was a document on proposed changes to the sign bylaw. And we had hoped that maybe, first of all, Ned did a an amazing job on putting it together in draft form so that we could then compare and understand what we were doing. So give you credit for that. But we are wondering, we'd like to move forward with this as soon as we can at a future town meeting, if and when we have a document that's ready to go. I know I spoke with Ralph, and Ralph had, as we figure, he has a lot to say. And actually, I went through it again this morning, and I picked up a few things I thought I might talk about too. So I don't know how you want to do it.
Well, why don't you go first, since you came up with some additional things you want to add, and then Ralph, you already have questions, you can add some questions on to what Marilyn's going to tell us right now.
Great.
Well, based on Ned's effort, there is really nothing that's substantively different.
No, I think the whole effort was that as we looked at the existing bylaw for signs, the numbering system was a little convoluted. The references and the cross-references were some loose ends there, missing links or whatever in today's lingo. So what we tried to do is to reformat the numbering system so that all the references would be logical and be easily referred to by anyone who's trying to figure out what type of sign would be allowable for whatever particular usage was. So the numbers are going to be a little different. We used a Dewey Decimal System with points and periods and whatnot, with subsections being to the right of the point. And we think we went through it and tied up all the loose ends in terms of the referrals from the preambles to down to the even the temporary lawn signs that we wanted to address during that period. So other than that, I don't think we made any really substantive changes, but there were some issues about, for example, the 100 square foot total signage, whatever.
For the business.
And we were trying to figure out how that should apply and whatnot. So we weren't trying to create anything new, but try to get a feel for what was in the past and then try to make sure it read easily so that it would be easily understood, which I believe was our charge when we started this whole process of work.
Mary's here.
Hello.
Hello.
Mary will confirm that.
Hello. Anything you guys need, just let me know. I'm on it.
But we spent a fair amount of time talking about things like temporary signs and what type of signs should we as a town be looking at in terms of encouraging free speech, but at the same time avoiding clutter. And making sure that if we have an event by a public charity or church or some religious organization or civic organization, that the sign is up there, but when it was over, it was gone. And we were talking about dating and whatnot on the signs so that everyone would know exactly when the thing is, because we've seen signs that are advertising something 2-3 months in advance, and oftentimes they end up staying up 2-3 months after the time. And so to that extent, maybe we were creating a little bit, so we'll be upfront about that. But as a board, you'll have to make the decision as terms of what would be appropriate for that particular type of situation. But as a whole, I would easily say 95 to 98% of it was really just a reformatting of the numbers and making sure that it was a little more readable, changing the words so that they would be consistent and that type of thing.
It's kind of a little bit difficult on the last 10% you're talking about, because the first 90% has to do with clarifying language so people can read it and understand exactly what the intent is. The problem that you have from time to time is that there's a little question of what exactly is the intent. Are there any questions in what has been submitted where there's some questions regarding the intent, not so much clarification of the language?
I could speak to that, I think.
Please do.
In what we submitted, trying to keep the text pretty much in line with what we have, just make it more user-friendly. I submitted the language, or recommended that we submit the language under business district, letter C, under number of signs, where it addresses the number of signs that are permissible for a single business use. And it identifies the number or the maximum limitation of square feet for that particular action, and it's 100 square feet. I had asked that we include in that section that the 100 square feet includes the ground sign for the business as well. Now, our bylaw is fuzzy, if you will. It depends on how you choose to interpret it. And I can speak historically for decades that the zoning interpretation of that particular component of our zoning bylaw has been 100 square feet per business use, including the ground sign. I know there's been some discussion since we did this. There's been some discussion with your board about a different interpretation that the building inspector is tossing about. Now, I've served with him for a number of years, as well as Tom DiMarzio and Fraser Johnson, and it's been consistent across the board that 100 square feet was the maximum square feet for a business use in, for signage.
Ground signs.
Ground sign, right, because, I mean, how much do we need? So anyway, I believe that's something that we might have to talk about in more detail based on a previous meeting that you guys had, and I observed it on LCAT, and Ralph had commented on, philosophically, do you realize what you're doing by taking this action? So I turn it over to you, Ralph.
Actually, I do a thought on that. You have a large building, has 4 different businesses in it. In the past, was it each business had 100 square feet? Or was it the building and all the businesses in it had 100 square feet of signage?
If you have a building, the current bylaw says you have one ground sign for that building.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the Stop and Shop where you have different business fronts or signage for each occupant,
Yep.
I believe they can go up to 100 square feet. In fact, we've had, not case law, but situations where they've exceeded the 100 square feet and they've had to cut it down. We've also had situations where the building had 100 square feet and the ground sign exceeded the 100 square feet. The ground sign came down. And then we also struggled with that issue with Walgreens when we did the town center. So it's always been 100 square feet, including the ground sign. So, I think that if we move forward with this language in a revision of our bylaw, basically for clarity, because there's really no substantive change, because historically that's been the interpretation for decades. Now I'm showing my age. It should be fine. Unless there's some reason to want to increase the signage. So.
My only question through the chair would be, I know our definition of sign is very specific and very broad, okay? But for some reason, our zoning enforcement officer has been ignoring banners, sandwich signs, and nowadays it's so cheap and easy to have the corrugated signs made online that they're springing up at businesses all over town. Right across from Town Hall, we have a business that's got 2 banners that were not approved. I mean, it's right across from Town Hall. You can't miss it. Do we need to be more explicit about those temporary business signs somehow? It really bothers me, because once one business gets away with it, then everybody on Shaker Road does it. And it starts looking like a market of some kind rather than business street.
Well, we certainly had a lot of discussion about that.
Okay.
And inclusive of that are just the trucks and the signage on the businesses' trucks being parked out in front on the road.
Right.
So we went through a litany of signs of that genre that we did discuss that, and we, in our opinion, for whatever it's worth at this stage, we felt that those all should be included, I think, because a sign is a sign is a sign. If it looks like a duck, then it's a duck.
I agree that our definition includes those, and that under the current bylaw, they are illegal.
Correct.
I'm just wondering if people are reading the bylaw and missing it, or people are reading the bylaw and ignoring it.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
right. And, I mean, our bylaw, I mean, this is not rocket science. It's
Yeah.
as good as the enforcement that is, part and parcel to what we have written.
Yeah.
We have numerous signs that don't belong where they are. I mean, and there was, in fact, the current building inspector, when he first came to East Long Meadow, had planned to do a massive review of signage, starting from the north end of town and just taking pictures and researching whether they were legitimately permitted to be there, and the project, as far as I know, it never got off the
It
ground.
never came to fruition, no?
No.
Because it was going to be in conjunction with the planning board.
Right.
Well, that should be done.
Well, but how do you,
You file complaints.
well, and we've all done it,
And if the
we've
complaints,
all done it.
we've been counseled that if the complaints are ignored, we go to the ZBA. So, there is a route to make things happen.
It seems to be a bit of a conflicted approach, though, where you're pitting someone against somebody else. I was hoping maybe we could come up with something more town-wide that could maybe create a vision for what signs would be appropriate for the historical context of the town, what we think would be appropriate, what we think would not be appropriate, and maybe try to take a more general approach where maybe some type of study or some type of group could then go out without taking it individually against each other and try to come up with a plan that everyone in town kind of agrees that is kind of the historical context of who we are as a town.
All right, so let's back it up one step. The first question that came here a few minutes ago was, are ground signs included in 100 square feet, or are they in addition to the 100 square feet? What's the intent when the zoning was created? That's the first question. Because if you're talking about a ground sign of additional 50 feet, you're now adding a third to what the original intent was. And if that wasn't the intent, you just added a huge increase to something that wasn't even supposed to be added.
Right. We struggled with this. I struggled with it when we were on the board, when I was on the Board of Selectmen, and then years later on the Planning Board. And how we used to go through the bylaw, and you were trying to get an answer. I mean, this is how we did it. You look at the category that the subject or that paragraph is located beneath. And, when you're going through the business district, they talk about location, size, number, construction, illumination. Now, illumination talks about moving and flashing signs. It doesn't say anything about the ground sign. But you would apply that to every sign that was in the business district. Under number, it talks about different areas where the business can be eligible for another sign if they have if they front on another street, or if they have another entrance, they can have another sign. And then they talk about a directory as well, but it says, in no case will the total area of all signs exceed 100 square feet. Then you flip the page and it gives the specifics about a ground sign. So it's cloudy.
But the specific of a ground sign doesn't seem to define whether that's included in the 100 or in addition to the 100.
The area about the ground sign is more specific to the setback and side yard requirements of its location. Because it's different than the location here, it was listed separately. That creates confusion.
But doesn't the bylaw say a total of all the signs have to be within 100 square feet?
It does under number.
So if that's the case, would we all be in agreement that that would be the way it should be defined?
I mean,
I would say going forwards, I think that language added in, an aggregate of all signs shall not exceed 100 square feet, will solve any discrepancies.
So that will eliminate the question regarding intent, correct?
Yeah.
Or resolve the question?
Yeah.
But one of my questions in the business district is, you have a location, and I mean, the first thing, all permitted signs shall be attached to a primary building. Under location, shouldn't we also include ground sign? Because that's a different location. You have the signs
In fact,
attached to
move
the
up the
building,
section and have a
exactly.
subsection.
I mean, that would be one of my thoughts, so that way there, when you're looking at location, it's either attached to the building or you have a ground sign and a total of not more than 100 square feet.
So, something to the effect of, notwithstanding anything contained herein to the contrary, ground signs will be included in the aggregate of the total square footage not to exceed 100 square feet, for example.
As historically, they always have been.
Does that include temporary signs and mobile signs and things of that nature?
Okay, so then we go to question number 2. Does that include temporary and mobile signs?
Sandwich boards, banners, trucks.
Okay, well, stop right there.
No.
Okay, so it looks like the whole board is in agreement that the intent was supposed to be, when this was written, ground signs are included in the aggregate of 100 square feet. So we can say that's resolved and now move on to temporary signs and mobile signs, correct?
Well, There's
Well,
other areas to touch on.
Yeah, can we start from the beginning?
I just want to make sure we get to a resolution.
No, okay, no, that's good.
Yeah, I think so.
Resolution is what we want.
Yeah, because I don't want to be talking about this for 6 months. I want to take care of tonight, right?
Good, we're in favor of
If
that.
we know what the intent is, we can resolve it.
Ralph, I don't know what you have, because I know you said you had a few
Yep.
things, but in the first section, under 5.8, signs, where it has some generic information
Yep.
about A, B, and C, the flashing lights, the
Yep.
building permits. After going through it again this morning, my thoughts were, in our definitions under section 8, we have a definition of a sign. We also have the criteria for measuring a sign. And I don't know that material, I mean, that's important material, but do people always, if they pull it up online, do they always go to definitions? I was hoping that rather than repeat all that information, unless you felt it was necessary, that we could at least reference in the beginning of the bylaw to also please see the definitions for sign in section 8, so they know they're there.
I like that. And there are 3 definitions, I think, that apply here. There's 4 definitions. There's ground sign, which is under G, sign, comma, accessory, sign, comma, area of.
Right.
So there are 4 definitions that need to be referenced.
And actually, the definition of the sign, I mean, it's so critical to what people interpret as being a sign.
Right.
Of course.
I mean, a flopping, bouncing thing on the roof of a building is a sign.
You mean on top of a chimney?
On top of a chimney, yes.
With air.
Not that we have anything like that.
I don't know where I've seen one of those recently, but
Anyway, if that were, that would be something that I would suggest, and the committee we didn't discuss this because I just thought about it this morning, so.
I think that would be a great idea, though, to add that as D. Please see definitions. I only found 4. There may be more. If there are,
Right.
then.
Do you want me to list all, do you want
That would
them
be
listed?
good.
Okay.
Because, for
Because
instance,
they're all over the place.
yeah, we have ground sign
Yeah.
and then sign, comma, accessory. So they're in 2
done
completely different
alphabetically
pages.
and-
so you may want to say at the end of that, including but not limited to,
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be, yeah.
in case someone finds an extra one.
Yeah, that would be good.
Issue being they'll invent something new just about every year to test the.
So included but not
definitions.
limited to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we can always come back and readdress that if we have to, if someone comes up with new technology dealing with signs.
That only includes permitted signs, right? Not
Oh, no, it's got to be permitted
not
sign.
banners or sandwich signs. huh?
See, we
And they
dealt
need
with,
permits too.
we dealt with permanent
something
signs.
different.
Right.
Right.
Do you want to do, okay.
Yeah, as I was going through, I noticed differences between commercial district, business district. Like under 5.82 commercial district, A1, obviously it's referencing a ground sign, one sign not to exceed 15 feet in the area nor exceeding 10 feet above the ground.
Right.
But it's not listed as a ground sign. Where once you go into the business district, it specifically states ground sign. I mean, like I said, little things like that that I just think would help clarify,
So do you-
one ground sign, one sign not to exceed.
Well, okay, you bring up a question that I stumbled over this morning as well. Aside from separating ground sign, it says signs, plural, attached to the primary buildings may not project toward the street more than, it gives criteria.
Yeah.
So in a commercial building, you are going to have, as we all know, several tenants. There has never been a limit on how many signs can go on the building of a commercial building. And because, you have, lawyers, you have a dental, office, and somewhere on that building, unless, I don't know what you're doing now with commercial buildings in terms of limiting signs.
We have a limited square footage, so there's only so much they can put there anyway.
But that's business. This is commercial district.
We haven't dealt with new commercial buildings in a long, long
Right.
time.
And we don't have multiple
Well,
businesses in them. The
But that's why I'm
Well, Stop
wondering
and
if.
Shop.
That's business.
That's business.
Oh,
Big
Okay,
Y is
great.
industrial. See, that's the problem
But
with our
but
zoning
on North
is,
Main Street, the condo is.
that's business.
That's business?
Mm.
What about?
Yeah, that's how they can have all the different, they can have offices, they can have retail, they can,
Okay,
I believe.
wait a minute.
Let me look on the thing.
Let me double check.
The funeral home is in business.
Yeah.
And then the
It's
credit
Richards.
union is
Richards.
commercial.
Commercial, is commercial, but then I think it goes back to business.
Not until you get past Pleasant View.
It's hard to see.
Okay, I'm here.
Stop and Shop is commercial.
No. That's,
Big Y is,
am I making too much noise?
No, keep going, you're doing good.
Okay. I don't want to make too much noise because Don will give me a dirty look.
Let's just get it done. That just takes care of it somehow. It's magical.
The brown is commercial,
I
right?
was gonna say, hang on a minute, Stop and Shop is industrial.
Industrial.
This map is really faded. And Big Y
I've got it here, Robin.
is. And then, it's hard to say, this map is so faded that the colors are wrong.
Well, you got another issue right off the bat. I mean, when you have retail in an industrial district, even though it's an industrial use, it's being used as retail, it would seem like you'd want your signage to be consistent with what is in the retail district because it's being used as retail, even though it's an industrial zone.
Well, the commercial district is the buffer.
And now I'm getting off on a
Right.
rabbit trail, but
the commercial district has
Needless to
historically
say.
been a buffer to the residential zone.
Right.
Business, commercial, residential zone.
Mm-hmm.
And the signage was always somewhat less.
One could argue it should be
Yeah.
less than a buffer
It-
zone.
Well, and it should be.
For what, commercial?
Commercial.
I think that's because historically, the buildings were smaller.
And they're
Industrial-
two-story.
Yeah, industrial buildings are much larger. Because if you look at our commercial buildings, they're really not very big. We don't have a lot of them,
So the Reminder Building,
business.
and then the medical office
No.
building in the back.
No.
Those are commercial?
Reminders,
Those-
commercial.
right,
those are
Because
all
those are
commercial.
Right.
massage therapists.
Right.
So-
Reminders, commercial. See, it's, as you well know, it's cut there. It goes
Right,
commercial
right,
business.
right.
Stop and Shop is a combination
Of
of industrial and business.
Right.
Businesses in the front where
Where the parking is,
Yeah, and where 99
where the
is.
restaurant is.
Yeah, mhm,
And it's industrial in the back where the strip mall is.
right.
And what's nice about that particular location, when we did the Stop and Shop Plaza, even though it's an industrial, and the signage requirement for industrial was more relaxed, because of the use it was held, and it was fine, because where else were you going to put all these signs? The signs were held to business size.
So Ralph's original question is what now? So we can come full circle now?
Yeah, let's go full circle.
He wants us to be more specific with how we look.
I mean, relative from commercial to business?
Yeah, well, like I said, I just noticed some discrepancies. And you go along, like I said, in industrial district, under A, it says signs must identify or otherwise relate to the primary use of the building or tenants in such building. And that's pretty much in the commercial, it's in industrial garden park. And then I go to business district, and that wording's not in there. I think that's something important to have under business, is that the signage relates to the primary use of the building. Like I said, I'm just amazed.
Well, we have language like that,
All right, are you
Like I said,
asking us-
I see it in industrial, and again, I'm going off of the sheet that was given to me. In the industrial
Right,
garden
You
park.
mean the
it's-
signs? Yeah, that's the one they
Yeah.
submitted. Mhm.
And it's not in the business.
So are you asking us to go back as a committee and address that, and then come back with,
I mean, I would think, like I said, that would be something to put right in the business district, because I think in any district, your sign on a building should relate to what's going on in the building. Whether it's industrial garden park, name of the business, whatever, it relates to what's inside. I was just amazed, I didn't see it in the business district, but it's in all the other districts.
well,
Isn't it a preemptory at the very beginning?
I'm looking, I just,
so again, are you asking us to go back and discuss that and come back with a recommendation? Is that the
That would be
board's,
my
is that the
thought.
board's
Or
request?
just that you
Yeah.
want it put in.
I mean,
I think you're asking to have it put in, correct?
That's
Have
what
it
I would do.
clarified. That's what we discussed.
I mean, I would think both the zoning review committee and the planning board would
Okay.
agree that,
it's under commercial district, it talks about signs must identify,
yep.
or otherwise, so we can very easily put
Yeah, it's
something
the
like
same
that.
language. It seems to be in all the districts except business. It just, I would guess that when it was first written, it was just an oversight. I mean, it wouldn't make sense in the business district why you wouldn't identify the business, and
Well-
that would be your,
I'm not arguing with you, I'm just thinking, what else would you do but identify your business with a sign? Would you, instead of having Stop and Shop, would you say peas and corn? I mean, you.
There
the name
are
could-
businesses that want to advertise other businesses on their signs.
Oh, we have a sign in the North End that does that.
Well, that.
and that's the whole
That's-
thing.
that-
You're
Right,
supposed to
and-
advertise
That's
only what's on your
that's what
premise.
this is supposed to limit.
Right,
Prevent.
right,
Prevent
right,
people
right,
putting up
right.
signs for other businesses on their business.
Right.
Okay. The other, if I'm, are you done, or you got more to go?
Oh, go, I got plenty.
Oh, okay. One thing I'm looking at here that I think
You're looking at what they want us to look at.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Right.
is extremely good, is under business, you have section D, which goes into construction in gory detail. Okay? But that's only in the business district. It does not apply to industrial or commercial. And given that much of the retail on Shaker Road is in industrial, okay, those limitations on construction do not apply to those retail businesses. Okay, everything on the west side of Shaker as you go south from the circle, just about everything is industrial. And a lot of that is now retail.
But the signage is driven, and, I mean,
I'm just
it's
thinking-
driven by district.
Right.
It's not driven by use, it's driven by
Right.
district.
But
and-
that's why I'm saying it might make sense to make the construction part of the sign the same in industrial. I don't see why industrial
Okay.
should have an exemption on what the sign, how the sign is constructed, that they should be allowed to paint signs on their walls when you can't do it in business, but commercial theoretically can paint signs on their walls because it's not restricted.
Right.
It's a great paragraph, and if you picked it up and added it to the other districts,
Cut and paste.
it would help strengthen it, I think, okay, especially for new going forward,
Okay.
okay?
He's talking about.
Because I'm expecting that,
Letter D.
as Shaker Road becomes more valuable as retail space, we're gonna get new businesses going in there.
Well, there's always, obviously, there's always been conflict with
Yeah, no,
the, you know, the business, and on one side of the
That's why I'm
street is the same as the business down the street on the other side, and yet this fella down the street has the option for a much larger
Yeah.
sign. So, fine, perfect, I'm happy to do
It's a
it.
suggestion. I like the language, I like the
Good,
paragraph.
good.
I think it ought to be applied elsewhere, is all I'm saying.
Well,
Did you have anything else, Ralph?
Ralph, let's hear it.
Do you have anything else, Ralph, that you would like to bring up now as opposed to
Ralph's
maybe
taking
later?
care of all
Ralph?
my.
Under
You
commercial,
guys bet this afternoon, got it all squared away?
Under commercial?
All of it.
under commercial, subsection E,
Still on the first page, Ralph?
E.
plans for all attached signs shall be submitted to the planning board. I see in here was exceeding 25 square feet in area.
That I,
My thought is, basically, all signs should come through the planning board. I think that's pretty much covered under signs, where it says all signs requiring building permits in districts shall be in writing of the planning board before a building permit's issued.
so.
Well, that's what that does, though. By crossing that out, isn't that what it does?
Yeah.
But
Why is
then-
it crossed out?
Because
it's no longer-
because what Ralph is saying is that any sign, regardless of size, so
Right.
what the committee...
That's why we crossed
That's
it.
why the
Crossed
committee
it out
crossed
for
it out
that
so that
reason.
any
Right.
size
Yeah.
goes
So
before the
that-
board.
Does that not answer that? Sorry.
Then
Go
we
ahead,
jump
Mr.
to golf recreation district with the same language. Only plans for signs exceeding 25 square feet in area shall be, I mean, the language
we
is
need to
just
take
different
that
from
out.
one to
We'll
other.
take it out in golf recreation, that was
Just
an
take that out.
oversight.
Yeah.
Page is golf
You take
recreation.
that whole sentence.
That's
because it's
Ned's fault.
redundant.
Page- it has
Yeah.
At
to
least
take
you can
turn
tell I
over.
read the entire document.
Ned.
Okay,
Like I said, I think going forwards, I mean, I like the addition of the compressed natural gas filling or electric charging. I think that's something that, who knows, down the road, it may be coming.
It's
I
already
personally
in.
don't
It
have
was at
it.
my house the other day.
See?
she's got a
It was a
Tesla.
Tesla.
Ah,
Ooh,
I knew
nice.
it was a Tesla.
It's not mine.
But
Yes.
that's just something
No,
where
it's
you're
not
looking
mine.
ahead, you're
Right.
thinking
Well,
out in
right.
advance, and I think that's awesome. That's what we should be doing.
What's your next comment, Ralph?
You just go around.
Yeah,
There's got to be more. Come on, buddy.
No, I mean, I think that's the general gist of it, is to try and basically make.
Keep it
each
uniform.
district
Yeah.
So we will go back and look at the different districts, and barring any rationale for a different treatment, we will then try to cut and paste, and, so that each district is uniformly described.
So they read almost identical unless it's specifically for a particular zone.
but we didn't really, at least in my mind, address the issue about commercial district. Do we want to, I mean, their signs are smaller, but there's no maximum requirement in size for a building, and there's no number for a building in the commercial district in our current bylaw. And do we want, I'm sorry?
That would be a big change, no?
Well, it would be a big change if we came up with something that was, largely different than what's happening. I don't know, a ground sign is limited in size, it's 15 square feet, that's small.
Any attached sign is limited to 30 square feet.
But how many of those
I
can
was
you
just gonna
have?
say, yeah.
Because it uses, in B, it uses, in the bylaw, it says signs attached to the primary building, so it speaks in plural.
I think it's per business, if there's
Or
multiple businesses.
Or maybe, or per occupant, or per, because it's commercial, you could, per office space, or per unit, or,
it should say that. somewhere in there. That
Okay.
there's one per unit.
Per unit
Or
or
per business, per business.
Because
Per
one
business,
business may
yeah.
take up 3 or
5
4
units.
Yeah.
suites.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be allowed 5 signs.
Or per tenant in commercial.
Well, it's per
Because
use, per
because it's not
tenant.
a business in commercial, per se.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think of businesses.
Yeah, but a tenant divides
Yeah,
its
yeah.
own, pays a rent
I know,
compared to
I
someone who
know.
owns it as a condo, so just per use, or
Okay.
per business.
All right, okay. And then the
Think we
square,
should do this.
You got a word?
We're kind of having a zoning
Can
review
we-
committee meeting
yeah.
here tonight.
I can't.
You guys should join us for our next one.
Is that it?
That was my highlights.
Sandro, anything?
Sandra?
Sure, Ralph.
I'm sure you got a few.
I'm good.
Anything, Sandro?
George?
I'm good. I think, I made, again, my only concern is that we really need to get some enforcement here. So
I
that
just-
we
yeah.
don't have signs littering every.
Well, you're right, but in addition to the enforcement, when it's crystal clear, not understanding the zoning can't be an excuse.
Right. Oh, understood.
Yeah.
It's there. And I like the changes. I think a lot of hard work's gone into this, and I thank you for it. And I think it's going to make it much more readable and much more clear
Okay.
to people, so that's good.
So we'll work on the changes and we'll send it back and then whatever.
Wonderful.
Quickly, George, we got an email through Robin, at least.
Yeah, I had made a suggestion
Yeah.
that in the table of uses, okay, there's a special line for hospitals, sanitariums, and clinics. And we did run into a problem within the last 5 years on the definition of clinic, because a clinic can mean anything from the Mayo Clinic down to a doctor's office. Okay, a doctor's office is often referred to as a clinic. The emergency, or what do they call them, urgent care places could easily be characterized as clinics. And given that that was lumped with hospitals and sanitariums, I didn't think that that was the intent after thinking about it for quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I suggested adding inpatient medical facilities, because that's something that doctors understand. You're either an inpatient or an outpatient.
Which brings me to, then we maybe should put outpatient somewhere. If you're going to have inpatient,
Yeah.
I mean, I say that because
We
when.
could put that with doctors' offices.
George
Or
just
out-
said facility, though, he didn't use the word clinic, so
I,
maybe.
outpatient
Yeah.
facilities,
Yeah.
right,
Now, there's going to
outpatient,
be minute clinics going into all of the CVSs.
right.
Yeah,
We have one.
yeah.
And the board approved clinic, and I believe that's the plan that you were talking about,
Yeah.
George, is at 265 Benton Drive,
Right.
where the medical facilities are there. And the board approved that 3 years ago, I think,
Yeah.
to allow that use in the industrial garden district.
Right.
But you just used the word facility rather than clinic, so I think that's much more.
Yeah.
Which is what I wrote
think that's
here.
not
Yeah, I think- I
dangerous.
think that
Yeah,
would-
I think
Right,
clinic
right.
would be
Yeah.
all over,
Yeah,
because
I mean,
like you said,
we
they're
did-
all
We
over
did
the
have a lawyer
place.
come in and say his client did not go forward with a plan because of the word clinic, and his client wanted to put in an urgent care facility.
Right, which is Hamden Care Physicians.
Well, he was complaining about Hamden, because
Mhm.
Hamden put one in, and his client didn't think he could, and will
Right.
we give him preferential treatment? So I think it was the intent when that was written, because it says lumps hospitals and sanitariums. They were talking about inpatient, and any medical professional knows the difference between inpatient and outpatient. Makes it clear the kind of facility that we're looking at. Maybe under doctors' offices, we should add outpatient facilities.
And which, maybe I'm thinking this through I'm going in too
Sure.
much detail, but when before we made any changes, George, and we had hospital, sanitarium, medical clinic, it's allowed by special permit in the residential zones and in, just the residential zones.
Yeah.
And then you have your doctor's offices that are not allowed in the residential
Mhm.
zones. They're only allowed in business, commercial.
Right.
We have some, I believe, uses in town that are in the residential area, I think, I'm not sure, that are under special permit, that went in under as a medical clinic. I don't know. The one
Dr.
that-
Hendrick,
Well, I think
he's under special permit.
the chiropractor
Yeah.
across from the high school.
Okay.
Yeah, that's in residential. Mhm.
Okay, well, I didn't know how long he
Yeah,
was there.
it's an old one, but it is a special permit.
And then also Dr. Turowski's office, where they had the free clinic for a while down on, it's on Maple, it's set
Yeah.
off the road. I don't know if that's
That
under.
one I don't have any records. I
And then
looked it up.
there's the reproductive health place.
Same place.
Same place?
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, so if we make the hospital sanitarium inpatient stuff,
Yeah.
it would render those units non-conforming.
Right.
So, and I don't know how huge a deal that is, but I think we at least need to talk about it.
I do have a question, if I may
Sure.
put a small monkey wrench into it. The section that you're referring to is 3.054, which comes under community and public service uses.
Yeah.
When these were written, I'm going to surmise that 100% of those facilities were charitable 501c3 organizations, which were nonprofit. The ones we're talking about now are really businesses, and they're for profit.
Yeah.
And my question to the board is, do you want to draw as a town a distinction between nonprofit clinics, whether they're inpatient, outpatient, or whatever, versus the for-profit ones, which only had cropped up in the last decade or so? Because really, these urgent care places are nothing more than a glorified doctor's office, which is not really a public use as a 501c3 nonprofit organization like Bay State or something like that.
Right.
So that's my question to you. Do you want to draw a distinction between the truly civic public use and a clinic which is clearly for profit by a group of doctors who are just extending out satellite offices?
Well, again, what I'm saying here is that I don't think the intent was to have outpatient doctor's offices be considered as clinics, because it was lumped in with hospitals, and we separately listed doctor's offices as a different use, okay? So, there are plenty of for-profit hospitals, and there are plenty of nonprofits that have gone for-profit over the years. I think the distinction is not whether it's for-profit or nonprofit. The distinction is it inpatient, which means you've got a large facility
The impact of the use.
where you've got people living there basically while they're being cared for, or is this a place where you drive in, get taken care of, and then go home? There's a huge difference in terms of parking requirements. There's a difference, a lot of differences there. Now, do we have doctor's offices in residential areas now? Yes, we do. If we change the wording, they would still be grandfathered.
Right.
Okay, but this would prevent what you're talking about, getting urgent care facilities going into residential areas, okay, by calling themselves a
A
clinic.
clinic, right.
Okay, it would restrict them to the zones where doctors' offices are
Commercial.
appropriate, because doctors' offices do generate a lot of traffic. Every doctor sees at least 3, maybe 4 patients an hour. That's a lot of traffic. And for a residential zone, that's probably not what I would want, but it's something we should consider.
But I don't think that was the intent
Yeah,
of the bylaw. It may not have said it, but I don't think it was the
Maybe
intent.
we have to rethink where these clinics in or outpatient should be reallocated away from the public service uses to
Right.
a more commercial / business /
and I'm not trying to present a solution, I'm just raising an issue and as a starting point for you guys to talk about.
It's fragile.
And think about all these side issues, because as with everything, as soon as you write it down, somebody starts interpreting it and changing it and getting around the corners.
Pesky lawyers.
Yeah.
Well, I remember before we rezoned the LaPlante parcel to
Yeah.
commercial, it was residential and industrial, and we had people coming in trying to put a medical clinic on the residential portion
Yeah.
of the property, and which, clearly was not the right use.
And before we
So-
do
That's
that,
fine.
I'd like to ask the board, though, do you consider any type of healthcare providing to be a public service use? Be it private, public, charitable, whatever.
Depends, if you know, depends on what party you belong to, whether healthcare is public service or whether it's business.
Because as soon as we get back and discuss this, I know this is going to come up.
You know, but the thing of it is, at the end of the day, it looks like a business.
Exactly.
So if it
That's
looks
what
like
I'm
a
saying.
business,
Right.
it's a business.
So we may.
Regardless of what their
recommend-
business model is, it looks like a business,
We
so
may,
it's a
we may
business.
recommend taking it out of the public service usage then.
And
I think you
putting
should.
it into the business uses.
Right.
Yeah, I think, because I think that's the reality these days.
It's always been the
But
reality.
it doesn't change the impact wherever it is.
Nonprofit medical facilities make lots of profit.
Yeah, they
but they
do.
have other requirements as a nonprofit.
All right, so let's summarize. What are we going to do from here?
We're gonna get back to work, and
We're gonna meet at your house next.
Sounds good.
We'll be here next Tuesday.
Looking forward to it.
Where else?
we'll have to set a date and add the revisions and get the document. back.
So we'll make, the zoning review committee will make the changes that we discussed tonight and then come back before the board for approval so that we can,
For the board to look at.
The board to look
And
at.
The board.
Further
will take it,
discussion.
yeah.
And anyone's welcome to come to our meetings.
Come to our meetings, please.
Well, since it's gonna be at
I'll be
Tide's,
there.
if it's gonna be at Tide's house, I'll go.
yep, it always
It's always
is.
at Tide's house.
Love to have you.
And this is not part of the meeting, but a citizen has come down, Mr. Ripton, who talked to me at town meeting and had some ideas, and I'd appreciate if you'd introduce yourselves to him on the way out so he knows who you are. That, you know, because you're the ones that are doing the work here, and he's a small businessman in town who has indicated he may have some ideas on zoning or small businesses anyway, so I would ask you to introduce yourselves to him so that
Okay.
he knows who you are.
Okay, sounds
Okay?
good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Do you want us to set a date and let you know? or-
Yes, please. We'll follow the standard protocol. Is there anything else that we have to discuss tonight?
There's always something, come on.
I think we should wait for the A and Rs, for, when you have a full board, because I think Michael wanted to make contributions to that.
Okay.
He's going with them, he's not gonna be here.
Wasn't sure.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Yeah, actually, just a couple things that I had.
Can you take it out to the hall, please?
Marilyn?
Marilyn, can you take it out to the hall?
Again, we had, Dan Hellier mentioned to me as far as a zoning seminar, and I know Robin had it, and I printed out a copy.
He sent it to all of you, but I'm not sure that it got there because the email was really weird.
I didn't get it.
Yeah.
It is something I'd like to go to. I have a concern. I know last year, when members win, we had enough in our budget to do it.
I don't have anything in the budget
And that's
this
what,
year.
that was my question.
What is the date, Ralph?
June 20th.
June.
No. I'm minus already.
What do you mean in the budget? It's $10, right?
Yeah, but I don't.
No, that's my point. $10 isn't much.
If I go, I'll pay the $10.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
Exactly.
if
And I
you feel
just
like going, you're
can't-
gonna pay
I don't
the
have
10.
it, so
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not even asking for
I'm
it.
gonna be in trouble with the accountant as it is, because I'm
But
minus.
I think that's just something to make a note of, that our budget is that tight, that even with something so minor as $10 per person, we don't even have that in our budget.
No, our
And,
budget is minus right now.
I mean, I think that's something that's important for appropriations to understand that. We don't have a slush fund sitting there that if we want to go to a seminar and learn more about planning, we don't even have the funds,
Right.
comes out of our own pocket for it.
Good point, Ralph.
Well, and, you know, when I had more money in the budget and I had met with appropriations, I think I'm talking, because I mean, I have given back at least $15,000 with regard to our expense budget over the last, I'd say, 5, maybe 6 years. I was told at the time, and that includes consultant fees, you know, if the board needs consultants. I was told at the time that if we needed it, all I had to do was ask for it. Well, I just asked for $2,000 to keep Donna on full-time,
That's ridiculous.
and I was denied. So, I don't know what's going to happen because it's a union issue. It's, you know, I can't just not pay her, but I'm not gonna have the money in the budget. And it doesn't matter whether I take the hit and don't work, because I'm salaried, so I get paid regardless if I work 70 hours or, 40 hours. So that's not going to help our budget. But, what Ralph said is right. I mean,
It's almost embarrassing.
and ours, I don't know if you noticed in the warrant, but the planning board budget is the lowest budget in the entire town. The entire town. It's not even $200,000.
So if there's not $2,000 to pay Donna, what happens then?
I have to lay her off.
So then you lay her off, and what happens with the union issues?
I don't know.
So when
She's guaranteed
we're-
37
I
point,
believe the solution
5 hours.
that was presented would be to cut her.
close the office.
Close the office on Friday for a half a day.
Yeah, but that
Which would take.
prevents her from being paid.
Yeah.
And she's under a
Basically cuts
union
her-
contract for
cuts
how
her
much money
hours.
she will make.
Mhm.
So it's difficult. I mean, everyone had to stick to the 1%, but really sticking to 1% is not 1% increase when, the union had a 2% increase. So I'm already minus even staying the 1%. So, but I mean, if I could, I would offer that to you, but
And again,
there's nothing
I
there.
don't mind, it's $10, but I just wanted to point out that that's how tight we are.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If you want to go, you have to let me know though, so I can
And I
do
do.
the
I will
application.
definitely attend that. And, I would
I gotta
encourage
check my
the board
calendar.
members too.
Yeah, I went to it last year with Ralph. It's very enlightening. Among other things, most of the people that go there are building inspectors. Okay, and so these are building inspectors who are learning about zoning, and they ask hard questions because they deal with this all the time. It's not just our building inspectors, it's from all over the area. So you get to hear what's happening in other towns as well as your own town, which I think is great.
Through the chair, just a couple more quick items. In each one's packet tonight, there's a list of 3 for A&R statements. All I'd like to do is just have you guys take a look at them. The statement that is included on an A&R plan right now only deals with non-conformance by area. If the total area is and it states on the plan that, we're not endorsing that. But under an A&R, we don't endorse any zoning violation. And that's all I'm asking is that we state that on the plan, that it's not just limited to area, it's any zoning violation. And these came right out of the A&R handbook. I think it would be nice to change what's required on the plan to one of these. But again, I want to put it out there, let you guys look at it, and then we'll have a discussion when we have a full board.
Okay.
Robin, we've not set up any time yet to meet with myself, Mike.
No, I'm still waiting for
Okay.
a date from Michael.
And then the only other thing is down the road, within the next few meetings, I'd just like to bring up the rules and regulations in regards to detention basins. We had talked about it 5-6 months ago. I think it's something to take a look at and, see if there's improvements that we can do with it. I'd just like to find a way to get it scheduled so that we can go ahead with that.
All right. What do you want it as scheduled? Do you just want a discussion on it, or
I think we start with a
an
discussion.
hour?
And
Do you want to invite the DPW? Do you not want to invite DPW? Since the way it's looking, just from talking with you, Ralph, that the DPW is going to be the one that's going to be doing the maintaining. Do you want to involve them?
I say you should.
Yeah.
I would love to see Bob Parent come in. And,
Well, how about the board? The board is the, Dan Burek
Well, I'm
is
looking for more
really
technical-
into detention basin and fixing the problems.
Then let's-
Dan
let's have
has
Dan
been, he has been the driving force
Good.
over the past 6 years
Let's
that we've been
invite them.
trying to get
Yeah.
this stuff.
And again,
So I think the whole board.
my thought
think
is
you need
to
the whole
plan
board.
for the
Just
future and
Dan?
looking
Just have Dan.
forwards with them.
Dan and
Dan
Mr.
and
Parent.
Bob.
Yeah.
Bob.
And they'll have to post it then.
Why?
It's only
Well-
one board member.
Only one board member's coming?
One
Yeah.
board member.
Yeah.
now.
Okay, one board member, that's fine, but if if it was the whole,
I think it's just a discussion to
And the
have going
superintendent, so that doesn't
forward.
include the board, so.
No.
See what their thoughts are, and like I said, I just think looking ahead as a planning board is good. Looking at the past, see what's happened, look forwards, if there's any ways to change the rules and regulations that'll help alleviate some of this, I think it'd be great.
One thing, if I could suggest, is that not only if you're going to change the rules and regs, you should change the enforcement. You know, our rules and regs say you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. There's nothing that says if you don't do this, this is going to happen to you.
Right, who's in charge of that?
Yeah,
enforcement?
I mean, we have to
Is there someone
really.
in charge of that enforcement now, or no?
All right, so that's something to have to be on the agenda for
Yeah.
the meeting.
Absolutely.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know,
Power without authority is no power.
right.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Right.
DPW have the right to go in there and clean the basin?
Not since the
stormwater got revoked.
stormwater was
that's right.
repealed
I forgot about
because
that.
it's all private property. That's what they were looking to do, to go in and, you know, fix all these problems, but it was repealed, so
So you and Robin will come up with a date?
a couple weeks from now, I'll see when Dan is
I'm just-
available.
Yeah,
I'm asking the question.
I would say based on their availability, I think it would be great to spend a half an hour.
Or so.
I mean, I can go on forever.
Depends if
so-
Ralph has like 600,000
He just said he could go
questions.
on for hours,
Yeah.
yeah, no kidding.
All right, if there's no further business, do I hear a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.